I'm saying Obama's going to invade Texas in July. Never said that. They never quote me saying it. They just lie. Why do you think they're running around like chickens with their head cut off about that?
Well, we all know who they are. There's a very small, you mentioned Anderson Cooper. These are talentless people with no ratings. They see an independent guy like you, so what are they going to do? They see an independent guy like me who rose from the ashes. Like a phoenix, I rose from the ashes. I'm on over 250 of the biggest stations in the country. The Limbaugh cartel hates me because they can't understand how I got where I am without them. Fox News hates me. I call Megyn Kelly Martha Washington, sarcastically, because she thinks she's the founding mother of the nation. She is doing the bidding of the Islamists, as far as I can tell, especially after this event. They actually blamed Pamela Geller for this event in Texas, didn't they?
Yeah, they said it's her fault. They basically said she deserves it.
Yeah, well, that tells you where they're at. The good news, Alex, is the scum are dead. They didn't injure anybody. The vermin, the converted filth, the converted jail garbage that did this is dead because of beefy Texas security guards, beefy Texas cops who aren't going to take the crap. They're not going to put up with this garbage, this hatred for Christians, this hatred for America. They're not going to accept it. They blew them to Allah land. That's the good news. That's the future we should look to. All of the armed police in this country, you have a job. All of the military in this country, active or retired, who are armed to the teeth, you have a job. Stand up to this scum. Don't let them take away your legacy, and don't let them steal your daughter's future. That's my answer.
It really is true.
They kill you.
Well, it really is true that we ask, why is this elite doing this? They have a crazed, craven, sneaky will to conquer this republic, this renaissance. They want to mount America's head on their wall, and they will work with any coalition to do it. And I got to say it, they're as mentally ill as Hitler. I mean, they really are mentally ill.
Drugs. I've for years been screaming for, if you go to work for a corporation, you have to pee in a cup. Why don't we demand that the president and all the members of the cabinet and all members of Congress go for a mandatory drug test every month? I'd like to know what they're on.
That's a good point.
What drugs are they on?
That's a good point. I want to shift gears into your book again because it ties into all of this. Talk more about your book.
Okay, I'll make it simple. You know, it's hard to describe a nonfiction, a book of, you know, a novel. I did something different in this novel with the Jack Hatfield character. I created new characters, including, and this is an interesting one, a Jewish gangster, Saul Minsky, who actually works with Jack Hatfield to protect him from the CIA, who was trying to kill him because, see, Jack's trying to stop the bombing of Mecca, or it's not bombing, actually, it's another technique. And the government then goes after Jack Hatfield. And he has to employ local gangsters to protect him. So there's new characters, and he's one of them. And Sammy's, a new character is Jack Hatfield's brother, Sammy the Clown, ex-Marine, motorcycle accident, living on the proceeds of the motorcycle accident. He lives next door to a Russian prostitute who becomes a heroine in the book because she's invited by the generals to do her work, and she overhears the plot. She hears one word, and her name is Anastasia. Her eyes, normally alert as those of a Nordic wolf, seem wary and frightened. She's a great character, and I would say she's the hooker with a heart of gold character come back to life. So what I'm saying is I make it entertaining, Alex. You know, there's only so much people can take from you and I. It's palatable only up to a point.
That's another question. That's another question. I used to could work 18 hours a day, literally many days, but it was killing me. And now I can only work about 10, 12, and I need to spend time with my family. This stuff is so sick now, the things they're doing, that I would go crazy if I continue to work as hard as I was. You, multi-time, top supplement developer, top, best-selling author, kind of launching a lot of the health revolution 35, 40 years ago. I'm not bragging for you. It's actually true for folks that don't follow it. I mean, you've made, your family, things you've deployed, some of the biggest products in the country. I don't want to, brag for you, but there's some of the biggest names out there. You don't talk about it on your show. You don't need money, but you're writing books constantly. You're on the air every day. But what do you do to unwind?
I sleep a lot. I'm serious. The minute the show is over, I go to sleep for 20, 30 minutes. It's a great technique, Alex.
I need to do it. I try.
No, but here's the thing. Go in a dark room. It has to be a totally, absolute dark room, no light. Hold your keys in your hand, on the side of the bed. It's an old trick. And let yourself drift. The minute the keys hit the floor, it'll wake you up. It's no more than 12 minutes. That's all you need. You sleep more than 15 minutes, you're going to get groggy.
I agree, yeah.
Right? So 12 minutes, you do the Edison nap. That's number one. I am saturated in vitamins. I am swimming in ascorbate. I'm a big vitamin C man. I have been for years, and many other things. I mean, people know me. I talk about it. I love to eat. I do drink at night, and that helps me. Just completely turn it off. You have to turn it off.
Yep.
You have to turn the switch. Alex, you cannot do. Your wife probably doesn't want to hear you talk about this. Am I right?
Yes.
Right? She's stop it already. I mean, you have a family. So you do have to learn to turn that off, or you'll go crazy.
I do turn it off, and then people walk me on the street and want to talk about this stuff, and I'm sorry, I just can't do it.
I ride a bicycle every day, and I do it in the way that Mr. Kellogg did. You know, the man who created Kellogg's Cornflakes. He would ride the bicycle 1 mile a day from his home to the plant in Battle Creek, Michigan, in a suit and tie, looking like Colonel Sanders. And he said, I'm riding the bicycle for equilibrium. In other words, we think we're supposed to ride the bicycle for cardio, pumping our bodies to death. He saw it another way. I ride my bicycle for that balance. You know what I'm saying? Equilibrium.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, just ride the bike a little, like a mile on a flat road. Get equilibrium. Try to see it in the Zen way, in that way, honestly. And these are things, they're simple techniques, and also luck. You've got to be lucky, Alex. I'm over 70. I'm 73 years old. I should be dead by now. My father died, God rest his soul, at 53. My grandfather at 47. So I used to hang on hoping that in the old world, my great-grandfather lived. They said, no, he died at 45. I've had a gun to my head since I'm young. Always thought I'd be dead. It's what drove me into the nutrition field. It's what drove me to the islands, South Pacific Islands, when people didn't even know where they were. Fiji water. Yeah, well, I was in Fiji before there was Fiji water, collecting medicinal plants, talking to folk healers.
No, you're right. I made the decision about 4 years ago to lose weight, get in shape, because it's the same thing. Like a lot of my great-grandfathers and people were successful businessmen, but they all died at like 50 from heart attacks because they never slowed down. My dad's dad as well. So that's why I just won't work as much as I did, because it's up to other people to fight this as well, not just us. And it comes down to scum wants to conquer better men, better women. And if we let them conquer us, I guess they are better than us. The new book is excellent. I can't wait to read the whole thing. Thank you for giving us time today. I know you're a very busy man. Countdown to Mecca, Dr. Michael Savage. We salute your hard work promoting the Bill of Rights and Constitution and our sovereignty, and you've been proven a prophet of what you predicted happening. It's all, unfortunately, come true.
Alex, I love your show. You're one of the best in the country, if not the best. And you are very strong, but remember, we all have our limits. You look good, by the way. I don't know what diet you're on. I want to know what it is.
Well, I was falling apart. I've just done a lot of stuff, but God bless you. Thank you, Dr. Savage.
Thank you, Alex.
You look great as well.
Thank you.
Very exciting interview. There he goes. We'll be back with the news and your calls. Stay with us. Many times as a best-selling author, Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer ran the anti-Bin Laden unit, could have killed him twice. That came out in congressional hearings, but was ordered to stand down. He blew the whistle on it. I remember seeing it in the New York Times and San Francisco Chronicle. They then tried to investigate him, claiming he was using his cell phone to call his wife, which you're allowed to do. Next, they'd accuse him of stealing a pencil, but he was able to get through that persecution. LondonCenter.org is one of the think tanks he works with, and the U.S. Army War College. I'm not going to go through all the things he did as a highly experienced CIA-trained Army intelligence officer, but now he is being censored with a biography he's writing with stuff that's declassified because they don't want him telling what really went on. And that ties into record journalists being locked up, record amount of FOIA requests being ignored, violating federal law and the Open Records Act. It's a felony when they do that. It ties into FCC Commissioner, CNS News. Feds may come for Drudge. with the Federal Elections Commission claiming he can't talk about candidates. And if they can knock off Drudge, they can knock off InfoWars and everybody else. They're already delisting us from the ratings, along with Drudge at Alexa.com. There is just massive censorship going on at so many different levels. There's an iron curtain of suppression descending down, undoubtedly. And so Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Shaffer joins us. Overall, before we get into your current case, here's the headline: military redactions of public info criticize. Lieutenant Colonel Shaffer and Defense Intelligence Agency have been locked in court battle for 5 years now. And now you're able to speak about it. Courthouse News has some of the report. What do you make, though, Colonel Shaffer, just at the big view first, of the overall climate in this country? I don't think of it as what you see in a free society.
Well, I agree with you completely, Alex. I mean, let's be totally clear here. Everybody, this includes elements on the left, elements on the right, basically being censored. A friend of mine who works, Pat Eddington, did a FOIA. He works for a New Jersey Democrat. He's a staff on a FOIA on the Stingray program, and the FBI returned something like 5,000 pages completely blank, completely redacted. So clearly, this is not a left-right issue. This is just a big government versus the everyone else issue. And when it comes to a number of things that are ongoing regarding your issues, our issues, it's all about essentially this White House, more than any other, has been going about trying to essentially make sure that the public is uninformed, that the only sources of information which are available to the public actually come from some approved source by the White House or some minion of the White House. And I thought, it's one of those things where if you don't pay attention, if you really don't watch day to day, look at every single source of information you can. And frankly, Alex, one of the things which I find most interesting right now, one of the best sources of information I get on a daily basis is the Mail UK, a foreign newspaper, because apparently somehow they're not as censored as U.S. media is.
I've got to say that the Daily Mail is one of the best newspapers out there. It covers a lot of celebrity news as well, but it just has hardcore info all the time. And it's one of the few publications that will actually carry what we say and not criticize InfoWars. I mean, take Jade Helm. All we said is, man, there's a lot of military training. We have some of the manuals. They talk about fighting veterans and Tea Party being their next big enemy with no proof. This is part of conditioning. They've had literally 1,000+ publications, CBS Nightly News, you name it, come out and say, Alex Jones and Governor Abbott say Obama is going to invade, and how dare them say the Army wants to kill Texans. So they build this straw man out of that just more and more, and I think it's the complicity of mainstream media working with the White House that allows them to run these hoaxes.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a big thing that is in vogue right now. Essentially, as you said, creating straw men, creating phantoms which don't exist at all. You have to become the main issue that the mainstream media follows, and thereby distracting the public from the real issues. And it's really important, again, for your show and for others, Alex, to actually, as best we can, as best anyone can, to state the information as best they understand it. It may not be the top. I was in a bit of the hot water with the Pentagon about 2 months ago when I made a call in January to basically, my sources told me that Sternberg-Dahl was going to be basically indicted for desertion. I got a lot of heat off that, but it turned out to be correct. So I think it's very important that everybody is best and try to get the best information out they can to the American public as quickly as possible.
Now, you've gone through hell with your fiction books, your nonfiction books, and the new book you're putting together. Tell us about those books for a moment.
Well, the court action, basically, to give your audience a very brief summary, is they attempted, Alex, from day one, ever since I've been publishing books, to go back, essentially redact or basically force me to delete information which is in the public domain. Now, you might wonder, why would a government agency spend so much time, in this case 5 years, trying to essentially pull information out of a book, of 2 books, that is in the public domain? And there's really no clear answer that you can get. I believe, personally, it goes back to, as you mentioned in the introduction, my testimony on Capitol Hill relating to the 9/11 information we had regarding here. Others believe that maybe a continued retaliation by the government against me simply because they don't like the fact I continue to speak up.
Well, I think it's both, but what gives them the